And she said 50% of Canadians don't have a will. I was like, oh, that's so wild to me, but also we don't. I was kind of shocked by the stat, but then also part of the stat.
All right, we just chatted with Amy from Estate Kits.
She's incredible.
She was incredible, but what's cool is she makes talking about something so hard sound very achievable.
She really did.
I mean, if you think about I think she even articulated it in the episode, but I'm not sure I can do it to have a conversation about money with my family, death with my family, and then how we solve for it. Like, I think I know it's a conversation to have that needs to be had, but that's a very emotionally charged convo.
Absolutely. Well, and when she said 50% of Canadians don't have a will, I was like, oh, that's so like wild to me, but also we don't. Like
Yeah,
it's just normal. Like I was kind of shocked by the stat, but then also part of the stat.
so I have done this. I have done a will, but
We have
that,
children, so it's different.
yeah, but that conversation, what I haven't done and what I don't know about my parents. And when she was talking about the story about her father, I just instantly am like, oh my goodness, I need to go back and have a conversation with my parents because I don't know what they want or what the deal is on that side. I have no idea.
I am fortunate to have a friend who works in that space. And so she helped us navigate that early on, where it's like, and then I lost my dad a long time ago. And so we had those conversations. We weren't as prepared for my dad's as we were, but my mom was willing to talk about all that. So, but
So
it's
was
scary, right?
Yeah, and so can I ask you a personal question? Like when you had to
Sure.
sit down and open up that conversation with your mom, was it awkward or did you feel ready to talk about that stuff?
I felt ready, but also I have that kind of relationship with my mom. And I also think it would have been harder to do before anything had happened to either of them because it seems so abstract. But after my dad had already passed, my mom realized how hard it was to navigate that and how she didn't necessarily want us to have to navigate that for her the way that she had to navigate it for my dad. So it was like experiential. It made more sense for her. Not to equate it to the same thing, but like it's like when we talk about like retirement planning, we're always like, okay, well, yeah, but it'll be fine. Like it'll just be this, this, and that. But I'm like, when push comes to shove, you can't just be like, oh, well, we'll just figure it out when we get there.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You can, but my mom was really cool and open minded. So that also helped.
That's cool. I wonder if the 50% of people who have wills, who have or are a little more set up or have had those conversations, I wonder if they've done it because of that experiential learning. Like they have just recently gone through it with someone they knew or a different family member and then decided to make the decision to do them themselves. Because it's not even something, even if you think about school or graduation, like you will have a conversation at some point generally about retirement, like you mentioned. But the estate planning isn't really a natural conversation that occurs at any point in time in our lives.
No. Well, and I do think that it's hard because where do you get good information? Where do you find out what the right things to do are? What are even your options? Like, I have just my lived experience in it, but also I was like, I didn't have feel like the funeral home was trusted resource. The bank was a trusted resource. Like, there weren't a lot of trusted resources to know how to navigate things. I think there's real value in that with helping families. Like, it's hard conversations and all of the things, but having what she's building in her business, like I think it's so much more impactful than I gave it credit for until I heard her talking about it. And I was like, oh, it's life changing.
Life changing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that she even mentioned they have a bunch of free resources to help that conversation along because that would be a challenging one. I can at least say from my family's perspective, that would be a challenging conversation for me to have with my parents. So I think I need to go find the
I think
questions.
that's probably, well, exactly, right? It's almost like coaching.
And did you find there I couldn't help but think about that parallel between when she was describing um, moving into a boardroom and not being afraid to have a contrarian point of view, which I so admire because that is something that is really, really hard to do. You can sometimes build up enough courage to do it one time, but to be someone that can own that voice is something that can be very draining in an organization, at least I think. But it sounds to me like she was so effective in that skill set to be able to do that, and then to layer in estate kit, which is also really having people come up with conversation that they maybe aren't thinking about it from a different perspective, a different point of view. It sounds to me like we unearthed a bit of her superpower.
What I think is so interesting about her, it's what she's doing in the business is impactful and interesting and incredible, and it's going to change the world. But also, like, her change from like all of the things she learned along the way, and then that just niggling, like, feeling that wakes you up in the middle of the night. I just love that she listened to that. It's impressive because, again, she could go on and do anything she wanted to do. She's obviously brilliant and talented and driven and smart and all of the things to be successful. And to take a chance on yourself is a big, I don't know, it's a big commitment.
It is a big commitment, but it also is honoring your strengths. When you say, I believe in me and I believe in what I'm doing and this is going to help the world, so I'm going to put this together. That alone from a business case point of view is incredibly powerful. I wonder how many other, I'm going to say in particular women, but other people also are sitting with an idea right now and aren't taking the leap, and I wonder why. Why wouldn't they be doing it?
Okay, so I have a question for you because you said I do this all the time. Have a really good idea and then I park it. Do you ever have too many ideas and then so it's hard to decide, like too many good ideas that it's hard to decide where to put your focus?
So I feel that was something I had to learn because I am somebody who I'll come up with an idea, and if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the time. Like you can rely on me, just if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And that's not something that everybody does. But also that means that the more and more when I was younger, I would come up with ideas all the time. It was almost like I didn't want to turn into, a squirrel and be like, "Oh, I want to do this." And now I want to do this. And now I want to do this, and I've had to learn that ideas come in for me and I'm like, I think this is a good one. I think I really want to do this. But then I have to sit with it and decide like a priority list of where does that fit. And I don't know if that comes from having children a little bit too, because my priorities of things I want to always do also have to line up with my values. And my values since having children has changed because my priorities changed based on the time that I can have with them. So it's like it has to go through my own internal prioritization meeting. Do you feel that you have like lots of ideas coming and do you park them or do you implement them right away?
I'm pretty good at implementing. Like that's kind of my execution is one of my strengths. But I tend to be willing to implement a lot of things and then maybe don't give enough. Like I kind of wish I could be like, this is my ultimate focus, what I want to do. And this is where I'm going to put all my energy and grow that. I don't know. I don't know that I have that because I'm like a little bit like, look at the butterflies. That one looks fun. Oh, let's do this. You know what I mean? So I do think I could probably hone that skill a little bit more. I'm better than I used to be, for sure, but I think there's room for improvement. But I also get excited about learning new things, and I think that gets me into trouble in that respect. I don't think it gets me into trouble. I think it's great and I love it, but it's like, oh, I could learn how to do this, and then I would be able to do this and that. And that's why I'm a real estate agent and I'm a this and I'm all the other things because I do like that part of it. I do think I'd probably be more, at least financially successful, if I put all my efforts into like one basket instead of some effort into a lot of baskets.
Really? How would you know if you were like, I'm going to put it all into one basket? How would you know that was the right basket? Because you'd
Well,
probably be so
that's my
busy.
question.
Yeah.
Because I even think that from a job perspective, right? Like, even because I'm not in a career like that, but I'm like, how do you pick which company you want to work for? That's what essentially they're doing, right? You're putting all your sort of eggs in one basket.
You are, and I think that's what I don't relate. I don't understand it, and I'll be very transparent. When I do meet someone who's been only in one organization, oftentimes in one role forever, I think to myself, "Wow, did you put all your eggs in this one basket, or did you get into the basket and then decide, well, I'm just not leaving. I'm good." I don't understand Like, genuinely, I don't understand how someone would be satisfied or happy with that journey.
Well, even the amount of time I spent in one organization, I did 5 different jobs. Like I started
Right.
and, it's different. But I think that is maybe how my brain works. Like I wouldn't be happy doing that, but I think there's a percentage of the population that like mastering a craft that is a solo skill like that is where they do find fulfillment, right?
Yeah, true. The sense of pride in that. Absolutely, you're right. I didn't think about it from that perspective. I do like the growing and the learning and the challenge of, like, for me, when I come up with an idea, it's one thing, but also generally the ideas are things that I don't really know how to do yet. And I
So same.
love learning that part. If someone was said to me, "Oh, the idea that you should do is something I already knew how to do, I just hadn't implemented," I'm not sure that would be something I would do. It'd be better if someone said, "I want you to learn this really tough thing. No one's ever done it before, but this is a really great idea," and I come up with that. I would hands down pick that. Okay, if someone's in front of you and you have 2 hallways to go through. One was, if you go down this lane, you have all the money, but you're gonna do the same thing and really hone your craft, but just you're going to sit there, versus the other laneway that says, this one, you could have exponentially more money, all the things in life, but I don't really know what the steps are that you're going to do. Would you pick the certainty laneway or would you pick the uncertain laneway?
No, I pick the uncertain laneway. And I do pick it all the like when I first moved up here and everyone was like, "Oh, you can go work at like one of these big, like get a job." And it's just and I worked for Chrysler when I worked in lived in Windsor, and I was like, I will never set foot back in a factory. I don't care how much money they want. Like nothing against people who do, but it is not for me. And my husband kept saying like, "I can get you a job. You'll make tons of money. There's lots of overtime." And I was like, "No. I will never ever. I've done that and it does not align with my goals in life." So I always will pick what makes me happy over sort of what makes me money, assuming I can feed myself and put a roof over my head.
Okay, yes, there are some basics there for sure.
But my husband's very different from me. He would absolutely pick the other path. And
Hmm.
I think there's value in both, right? I mean, probably not value if we both did uncertainty. I'm fortunate to have like the opportunity to try on my own because, we have two incomes and it was fine. But I would definitely pick new and interesting and potentially uber successful.
Yes, well, that for sure. I wonder if that's a question we should start asking, like, high school students, instead of, what do you want to be when you grow up, but more about that. Like, if you had two different experiences, which experience would make you happier, or which one do you think you would feel more fulfilled in? I wonder if, when we change the conversation that we're having with kids, or not kids, young adults, it would change the trajectory of the choices of careers they make.
Well, I think you have to ask the questions around more what makes you happy or fulfillment or purpose. And I don't think that you know that at that age necessarily, but like for me, I didn't know I didn't want a 9 to 5 or things. I didn't know that sort of thing in high school, but I knew that I liked being outside of the box, doing things differently than everyone else. And I was fine with it. Like I think if you ask questions differently, people may, I don't know, may choose differently, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I guess that's a privilege too. I mean, the privilege of perspective and the privilege of even seeing different opportunities or having the ability to ask different questions would maybe put different people on different trajectories also. I don't know. I guess that's another challenging conversation, kind of circling back to the estate kids pieces about some really hard things to talk about. I wonder if, when you're having conversations with your family about death or about your estate, if this kind of conversation about a life that is worthwhile that's had, or a life that, people aspired to something and hit those goals or didn't, I wonder if those types of things become part of these estate planning conversations. I wonder if there's some stats on that. I do. I should have. And another thing I regret asking, or I should have asked her that I didn't, was the regret piece, because she told us some like incredible stories of things that she's done. I wonder if there are times where someone who has really fulfilled the goals they've looked for in life has regrets. And is the regret I didn't make the choice that I wanted, or is the regret it didn't, it didn't come off the way I wanted it to, or I didn't achieve the results I was looking for. I wish I'd asked her more about that.
Well, then I'm curious, do you get to that point and the little things didn't matter anyways, and you still figured out the fulfillment pieces? I
I
thought
don't
she was
know.
fantastic.
She was fantastic, and I know what I'm gonna do when I'm finished. I gotta go call my parents.
Well,
I
that's
hope
good.
I hope we've
She'll be
motivated
happy to
other
hear
people to
that.
do the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, to not be afraid to have this conversation.
Well, we'll link everything to her stuff in the show notes because I think if you have the opportunity to have those conversations with your parents, you're probably very lucky and you should take them as an opportunity. And with all of the free resources and things that she's created, might make it all a lot easier for everyone, right?
Absolutely.
It's hard for you, but it's hard for them too. Anyways, yeah. I thought Amy was fantastic and I think something about her energy and her spirit will help people in that. So
Absolutely
grateful to have
agree.
met her.